Hey, what's up guys, this is Js5001 here again. It's been a while since I've done this. The top 10 unintentionally disturbing kids characters from around the world, from Blame It on George. I haven't done one since last year in April 2016, so it's been a while, and I haven't reacted to a Blame It on George video in a long time. And my last one, the first one, got a lot of views, and I wasn't aware that there was a number 2 until a couple days ago. I found out that there was a number 2, and I was like, all right, I gotta react to this. I didn't even know that this one was out yet. So, and it's been out since April of this year. So, yeah, it's been around for a while. So I don't know how I do not know how I missed this. I didn't know how I could miss this. It's back in April 8th, earlier this year, so I don't know how I could miss this. But, yeah, let's start right now. So, I hope this is just as good, or even better as the first one. So, yeah. So, let's get this started.
Characters on kids' television shows aren't really supposed to look realistic. They're supposed to be caricatures with exaggerated features and mannerisms. It's what makes them endearing to children. That is, for the most part.
That is true.
You can probably remember, as a child, at least one character from one of your favorite shows that made you hide your eyes every time they appeared on screen.
Yeah, that always scared me. That SpongeBob episode.
Today, we're going over 10 more unintentionally disturbing kids characters from around the world. Lady Elaine from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's
I don't know if I
a
remember
more
this.
benign children's program than Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but you may recall that the jolly fellow who really wanted us to be his neighbor was fond of whisking us off to the neighborhood of make-believe,
This seems
which
very
was
familiar.
mostly populated with puppets.
Yeah, I
Aside from the
kind of remember
King
this.
Friday, Queen Saturday, and Prince Tuesday, there was an assortment of delightful characters, and one who wasn't quite as delightful. Whenever the storyline called for something resembling a villain, it would fall to Lady Elaine Farchild. Why? Well, because unlike the other characters, Lady Elaine wasn't so friendly. Also unlike the other characters, she was really ugly and had a magic boomerang that could turn the whole kingdom upside down.
Yeah.
Kids from certain types of households may also have recognized her flushed cheeks and rosy nose as an indicator
She does look
of being
pretty ugly.
constantly drunk. We're sorry if this has triggered any unpleasant memories for any of you and are starting to wonder just what kind of childhood Mr. Rogers had.
Yeah. I thought I was watching Sesame Street when I was a kid.
In the mid-'80s, Pob's program
That was dead
aired
wrong.
for
I don't
2
even know what I was
seasons
thinking.
in the UK. Its premise was that its host, a freaky-looking English-language mangling little thing named Pob,
That was a
lived
stupid little
inside
kid.
your TV. And if that's not disturbing enough, he opened each episode by blowing spit all over the screen and writing his name in it. Okay, so
Ew.
he was apparently breathing on the screen and misting it up, but take a look.
Yeah, that's not weird.
Judging by the way he speaks and acts, Pob is not capable of knowing how condensation works, but is definitely capable of spitting all over things. He sounds like a cracked out Teletubby. Looks like
Yeah.
the kind of underdeveloped mutant abomination that should immediately be put out of its misery.
Uh-huh.
Apparently some British kids have fond memories of the show, and the rest probably have no memory of it at all, having long ago blocked it from their traumatized minds.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't see that when I was a kid.
The Thin Man
It's like a
from Look and
nightmare.
Read.
It's
The
fitting, man.
BBC's Look and Read program was a series of educational films telling stories divided up by learning segments. Many of these were shown to bored English children in the primary school, but only one episode made those children pee their pants, a 1971 episode entitled The Boy from Space. The story follows a couple of kids who are poking around in an empty quarry, which may have been the only sets available for British filmmakers in the 1970s. They do indeed discover a boy from space, but first, they stumble across a tall, thin man in a hat and overcoat. He's just kind of standing there, in the middle of the quarry, and then he starts lurching towards them in a way that could not be more convincing as an alien who has never used a human body before. The kids run, panicking. The man follows, lurching.
It's like kind
Most kids
of
stop following the story at this point, as they were
looks
hiding
like a
under the
zombie
desks.
a little bit.
It's worth noting that this thin man bears more than a little resemblance to the villain of the 1979 horror classic, Phantasm, who is also referred to as the Thin Man. We're not saying that the Phantasm director saw this as a child and it scared the shit out of him, except that that's exactly what we're saying.
Mr. Squiggle. You won't find Mr. Squiggle on many of these sorts of lists. It's a beloved show having run for 40 years, and it
40
entertained
years.
and educated generations of children in Australia. As we may have mentioned before, creepy things are a little less creepy when your environment and everything in it actively wants you dead. But for children who didn't grow up in the murder continent, Mr. Squiggle can be a little disconcerting. He's a marionette with a pencil for a nose, whose only purpose in life is to draw stupid pictures. He bobs and floats
Looks
in the
like
air,
it.
blinking his big bulbous eyes, and speaking like some deranged serial killer who just now got hit in the head. Really fucking hard. We're sure this long-running show was full of great messages and helpful educational tidbits for kids, but only in Australia could this floating freaky mutant be seen as cute.
Cuckoo Rokuju from Nihongo
the hell?
Sabo.
His head looks like a
Here we go.
penis.
The Japanese show. That's right. Buckle in. Nihongo Asoba, or Let's Play in
No
Japanese,
offense.
teaches children about traditional Japanese culture. In one 2012 episode, they learned about bunraku, or puppet theater. The segment featured a puppet that appears to be based on Cuckoo Rokuju, one of the 7 lucky gods, whose dome, in most renderings, resembles nothing so much as a cone head. Unfortunately, the version seen on this show resembles something else entirely. Now, we don't have to spell this out for you, but suffice to say that most versions of this lucky god don't look like they're actually about to get lucky. That is, the head does not ordinarily resemble a wrinkled foreskin, and this god's head also does not normally grow fucking erect and actually just become a big dog. Look, we said we didn't have to spell it out for you, not that we're going to.
Very dirty.
It was rebroadcast in 2016, and the internet noticed.
Whoever thought of that as a
Apparently, this
perv?
is just the way the types of puppets are made, with bald, extending heads that look just like wangs. Nothing to see here.
Wurzel Gummidge. Wurzel Gummidge originally appeared in a series of British children's books, which were adapted to a TV series in 1979.
What the hell?
Being the adventures of an ill-tempted Scarecrow who comes to life, causes all sorts of trouble, and then blames it on the children who are supposed to be his friends by turning them into a normal Scarecrow.
Some of these don't even look
the
like
show Wurzel Gummidge gave the character a femme
kids'
fatale in the
characters. This
form of a
looks
life-size
psychotic.
fairground doll. Nothing creepy about that. And a set of interchangeable heads. The character could quickly go from jovial and friendly to angry and physically abusive, and looked like an extra from Night of the Living Dead, dressed up in Scarecrow clothes. British adults tend to remember the show fondly, perhaps giving it a pass because of the presence of the actor John Pertwee in the title role, who was the third Doctor Who. British people really love Doctor Who.
Those people should be in the horror
The
movie,
chief
like those
mascots
characters.
from Mommy Ja Abbott's. The Estonian kids show Mommy Ja Abbott's was
last
ostensibly
one was
made
freaky
for
as
very
fuck.
small children and toddlers to learn simple concepts like letters. It featured actors in mascot suits, not unlike the kind you'd see at a theme park, except they got a few things wrong. Okay, more than a few things. Really, they just took everything fun and endearing about mascots, sprayed it with the blood of a chicken under a new moon, and set it on fire. For one thing, the costumes look cheap, like salvaged from a dumpster cheap.
Very cheap.
The heads have no bottom halves, so we see the actors' human mouths poking out from under these things, which have eyes made of pure malevolence. They sing and dance in ways that can be politely described as awkward, and not so politely
Very
described
awkward. This is
as
making me feel uncomfortable.
Buffalo Bill's wet dream. It all plays like a forced collaboration between Jim Henson and Jeffrey Dahmer, making it obvious to any child watching why
Well, I'm
these
not
horrible
sleeping
things
tonight.
had to have human mouths. They're all the better to eat you with, my dear. All the better to eat you with.
Well, I'm not sleeping tonight anyways. That's fucking scary.
The flying face from Mullygrubs. And here we are in Australia again.
Well, what do you expect from the murder continent? I've seen a lot of TV shows before, but I haven't seen that one before. So, like the one with the pencil as a nose, whatever it was called. Serial killers probably made these TV shows. I wouldn't even call these TV shows. Like, I would call them TV shows, but like psychotic TV shows, like not for children, like for serial killers. I think kids would probably be screaming their balls off looking at this shit. I mean, this is just getting worse, like down the list. Like, it just gets worse and more disturbing and more fucked up. Like the one with the scarecrows, that was like more nightmarish and less kid friendly and more like horror movie like. Kind of reminded me of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But I know they're like scarecrows, but they're fucking scary. So, yeah.
Mullygrubs aired from 1988 to 1996 and featured animated and live-action segments of all sorts. Its one consistent feature was the random appearance of a disembodied face with a weird, squeaky, and disturbing voice that says nonsensical things, and frankly, just can't get the hell off the screen fast enough. I mean...
Oh, thanks, Banan. I think I'd like to be a frog today. Do you have glasses? Yeah.
This is not normal.
He doesn't have glasses.
This is not kid friendly. This is nightmare fuel.
Ugh. The face was played by actress Diana Kidd, who is not at all terrifying, and whose voice doesn't sound like that. Her voice was actually run through a modulator to pitch it several octaves higher, because a floating headless face just wasn't creepy enough on its own. This appears to be part of a concentrated campaign by Australian children's television producers to raise children to respond to abject horror by giggling and having some more animal crackers. EC from Liftoff. Okay, so we really don't want to pick on Australia, but if they didn't want to be so heavily featured on a list of disturbing kid show characters, perhaps they can make a kid show or two that doesn't scare the crap out of us. Liftoff was a mostly live-action series.
Australia shouldn't be making kids' TV shows.
To the challenges of
they don't know how to without scaring the shit out of kids.
The show also featured animation and puppetry segments, as well as several regular puppet characters that interacted with its young actors. One of these was named EC, meant to stand in for every child watching the show and giving its audience a character to relate to. As such, EC was designed as a blank slate. Literally. The puppet had a smooth gray head with no goddamn face. The show was based on the ideas of a Harvard child psychologist who knew that its young audience would need a surrogate. He should have also known that humanoid beings without faces are terrifying, almost as terrifying as a floating face with no head. Fucking Australia.
Yeah, that's probably where the idea of Slender came from. It's that baby.
Alright, there's no delicate way to put this. The Swedish show Bis och Kass translates roughly to pee and poop, and its two main characters are literally adult people dressed as a turd and a stream of urine.
Why?
We're not making this up. It's meant to teach children about bodily functions, and you can probably imagine the insane cast of supporting characters. No?
Why is this a thing?
Can't? Here, let us help. Our heroes, urine, and shit come across such helpful characters as a giant talking butt, a singing pair of balls, and a big ol' rapping dick. How exactly this was supposed to make children more comfortable with bathroom activities, we're not sure. We can only imagine a generation of Swedish toddlers running screaming to their mothers because their balls failed to burst into song in celebration of their latest bowel movement.
Why is that even a thing? Like this is actually pretty scary. Like, especially with the last one, it wasn't really scary. It wasn't disturbing at all. It was just stupid and just gross because you have like some person dressed as in a shit costume and the other one dressed as a stream of urine. Like, that is not kid friendly and that should not exist. but it exists anyway, so fuck us all. I mean, never mind, whatever. And yeah, this Australia needs to quit making kids TV shows, because they can't make them without making them horrifying, especially with the floating face without the head. That's like nightmare fuel. And like anything with like a face, like in a show but has no head or a body, like it's just a face that's like moving around on screen without a head. I mean, that's just, it's nightmare fuel. I just can't. But it's been a while since I've done like top 10, you know, disturbing kids characters from around the world, since like 2016. But yeah, I'm not trying to sound like a broken record or anything, but whatever. Anyway, hope you like this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another video, and I'll see you all later.